Hi there, it's Elisa with AK Educational Consulting, back to talk to you today about something that many of our kids struggle with, and that is reading social cues. I know this is something that I talk with my own kids about. We just have a lot of kids out there who this is really hard for. It's very challenging for them to read um, the signals that are being sent to them by other people during a conversation or an interaction. And so I have 8 quick tips for you today of things that you can do to help your child or your students or whomever learn to read those social cues a little bit better. So the first one is practice making eye contact. This can be very difficult and feel very awkward, right? But it's really going to help kids understand that when you're in an interaction, you need to be making eye contact. So you can practice this and it's going to feel silly and it's going to be awkward. And if you do it with students, they're going to be, giggling like crazy. But practice the eye contact, all right? Encourage attention when speaking to kids. So if you have kids that start to wander off, don't allow them to do that. Gently bring them back to the conversation. And so, for instance, when my kids at home are doing this, I'll say, hey, can you just make sure that you're looking at me so that I know that you're hearing me and understanding what I'm saying to you? This is where that eye contact practice comes into use, right? Remember, we practice this. So we're going to kind of try to actually do it now in the context of this interaction. You can practice observing other people's facial expressions. You can do this through role play, right, where the kids are making silly faces, or not necessarily silly, but different faces or different expressions, and we can practice kind of reading how they're feeling. There are lots of books out there and posters, that we can use. We can use the emoticons, and there's lots of different ways of doing this. There's one book that I had in mind that I thought I had next to me and I don't, called Let's Make Faces, that can kind of help them practice. So if somebody is looking like this, what does that tell us that they're probably feeling? And going along with that, their body language, right? Because when I did that, it wasn't just my face. My head was down, my shoulders were kind of slumped, my eyes are looking down, my whole body is just kind of, slumped over. So, how do we read what our bodies or other people's bodies are also telling us? And we can practice this again through role play. We can practice this through movie clips. There's so many different, really fun and engaging ways to practice reading facial expressions and body language. Number 5 is, if we're going to be in maybe in an unfamiliar social situation, then we need to help kids understand what the expectations are. So an example of this would be, several months ago, I took my daughter with me to a wedding, a friend's wedding. She was my wedding date, and she had been to weddings before, but not exactly like this one. And so I kind of walked her through what she could expect in that situation. This is also sometimes referred to as pre-correcting, where we get our kids or our students prepared for an unfamiliar situation or task or activity ahead of time by teaching them or walking them through how to do it or what the expectations are. And so a classroom example of this might be, if you have a guest speaker coming in, then you're going to practice, how do we sit when we have a guest speaker? What should our bodies be doing? Where are our hands? Where are our eyes? Should we be yelling out? What if we have a question? What do we do? What if do we clap, in the middle of a presentation, or do we wait until the end? So we walk them through all of that so they know what to expect and they know exactly how they should behave or react. That doesn't mean they're necessarily going to, that's when we use prompting. Prompting is a strategy where, as teachers and parents, we do this a million times a day. We say, hey, remember, you're supposed to be sitting cross-legged right now with your eyes on the speaker. Or, hey, remember, we're going to wait until the end to ask questions. It's just all of those reminders that we give of that pre-correcting that we set in place. Hey, remember, we said that we're going to wait until the end to clap. It's just those little reminders that we're giving them. All right. Number 6 and number 7 go kind of hand in hand. So we need to talk to kids or have them practice or listen to different pitch, different tones, different inflections, so that they know what those mean, right? It's like, we know that somebody's asking a question when their voice goes up at the end, right? What are you doing tonight? Versus how we would say a command, go to your room right now. Or how we would say, hey there, I'm glad to see you. There are different types of sentences, right? With different types of punctuation. And so we have different inflections. Our tone is really important, and it's a very important clue that we give to other people about how we're feeling. And then the last one is really one that I've kind of mentioned throughout, is role play, role play, role play, especially for our kids who are very awkward or very nervous in social situations. Role play common scenarios with them so that they can start to practice all of these little tips and strategies. All right, so hopefully this has given you some ideas of, where to go or where to begin with kiddos that you maybe interact with that struggle with social cues. So hopefully this is helpful. And thanks for joining me today. I will see you back here next time.